Excuse me, y'all. Giving all glory, all praises to Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shi'yah. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and forever. Hallelujah!
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 All praises, all honor, all glory to Yahweh, His Son, and His Son Yahweh Shi'yah, for the reading and the understanding of His word today. All praises. Today, you guys, today is part 2 of the 7 deadly sins. Part 2 of the 7 deadly sins today. So what we're going to be discussing today is envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. So those are the last 4 of the 7 deadly sins that we discussed last week. Now, to get an understanding of what envy is, we're going to go into envy first. Now, envy, the definition of envy is a feeling of discontent or resentful longing aroused by someone else's passions or jealousy. That's an understanding of what it is to envy. So it's a basic form of jealousy. It's a basic form of discontent. It's a basic form of a feeling of discontent and resentfulness, longing, and it even uses the word aroused by someone else's passions. That's interesting, because y'all have to understand sometimes envy can just come up on you. You can see something good happen for somebody, and bro, you have a feeling of that envy or that wanting of what they have will come up on you. Now, that being said, what would be the opposite or the opposite of that envy? What do you use to combat envy? Because we don't want to just talk about envy, go into envy, which we are going to talk about it, get scriptures for it. But the opposite of going into envy, what helps to subside envy is gratitude and temperance. I'm going to say that again. Gratitude and temperance. Now watch this. Gratitude is gratefulness, thankfulness, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. That's what gratitude is. So when we practice gratitude, we can stamp out envy. Do y'all understand that? The practicing of gratitude is the combat or the going against or the opposite of envy. So I'm going to read that again. Gratitude is gratefulness, thankfulness, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. That's the opposite of envy, right? And then it says temperance, because you have to have temperance. Now watch this. What is temperance? Temperance is self-restraint and restraint. Just self-restraint. Being able to control one's spirit. That helps control envy. It helps to fight against envy, right? So we have to have those things. So when you write envy, write the counterpart of envy. Y'all understand that? Don't just write envy, because we have a lot of examples that we're going to get today of envy, but you got to know the counterparts. Damn, I got to remember to have restraint. Damn, I got to remember to be grateful. Damn, I got to remember to be thankful. Right? Damn, I got to remember to be ready to show appreciation for what I have. That will counteract envy. Y'all understand that? We're going to keep going. Watch this. I want you to turn to Galatians chapter 5, and we're going to start at verse 24. Because remember the fruits of the Spirit. That's why I'm going to Galatians first, because the fruits of the Spirit are what helps you to not have to battle against envy and lust and all these 7 deadly sins. Because a lot of times what you guys what a lot of us don't understand is that we fall into one or two or three or four or all of the 7 deadly sins every day. A lot of us fall into them and don't even know that we're in them. We don't even know that we're being tormented by them because it's so natural, right? So I'm going to start at verse 24. Galatians chapter 5, verse 24, and it says, "And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections of lust." So to crucify the flesh means you're walking away from envy, right? Or you're walking away from that deadly sin, right? Watch this. And it says, "If we live in the spirit, let us also walk in the spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another." Why does it say let us not be desirous of vainglory? Because vainglory is something that you want, something that you seek. Hey, look at me. Hey, check me out. He said, don't be desirous. Because remember, Judah love to shine, don't they? Mm-hmm. Judah love to shine. We love to shine, and we like shiny things. True. So we like to shine. And sometimes we can go into unknowingly envy. We can go into things like that. And we can cause people to envy us by the way we shine or the way we, do things, right? So he's telling us to crucify the flesh or to put your flesh into subjection so that doesn't happen. Now, it will happen sometime anyway. Do you know things happen and you don't want it to happen? Do you know you envy or covet some things and I'm not looking for that, and they happen. So when they happen, because that's the natural flesh, that's the natural body, you have to learn how to deal with that. Even if you have a spirit of envy that come on you, you can push that thing out, but you got to know how to push it out. You got to know how to say, you know what? Damn, I felt that. Oh, you got to know how to say, you know what? That ain't what I want. Because it's going to come up on you at one point or another, right? Everybody's felt these things. Let's keep going. I want you to go to James chapter 3 and verse 13. And if anybody say they never felt envy, they're a liar.
That's right.
I'm just going to tell you straight up. If you ever say you never had envy for anything or anybody in your life, you're a liar. Because I felt it. I know people that have felt it. I know people that have experienced it, and they came to me as a man and spoke to me and told me about things that they felt against me, and I had no idea. And I have also been on the other end of that stick too. Y'all understand that? And these are things we have to learn how to battle. Watch this. I want you to go to James chapter 3 and verse 13. This is James chapter 3 and verse 13. Watch this. It says, "Who is a wise man and endureth with knowledge among you?" So this is a question. "Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom." So he's telling us how to speak in our conversation and how to come about with just humbleness, right? He's actually telling us how to speak to people. Watch this. But verse 14, "But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth." So I was getting ready to leave this morning today, and my wife was coaching me on how to talk to people. Somebody had said something to us, and they asked us to interview somebody, right? And so I was like, the way I said it was, I just want to tell them that they off and I don't want to deal with them. And she said, well, she said, you can't do it like that. She said, I have learned that you can say what you need to say, but you can put it in a better word. So you can say, well, we're not going to do that because our doctrines are not the same. And so we probably shouldn't, or we wouldn't do it. But if I go to the same person, I said, well, now you off and I don't agree with what you're talking about. But if I say, well, our doctrines don't line up, so we probably shouldn't do that interview. Right? Which one was better?
Second one.
The second one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt some type of way. I'm sitting there looking at my wife. She's talking to me, and I ain't gonna lie, I felt some type of way. But at the end of the day, she was right, because when you bring across something, it do need to be seasoned with salt. When you bring across something, you don't want to have the appearance of strife, right? In your voice. You want to try to bring it across with meekness or humbleness. So she was 100% right. A lot of times, if you just easy to talk to or easy to be entreated, you can help your life. Like what she told me. Now, if I still felt how I felt, and I told her, well, no, I just feel how I feel. Well, I'm kicking against the pricks. That's kicking against the pricks. If you feel, I get that you feel how you feel, but you should be easy to talk to. That's why the second part say, I'm gonna read it again. It says, but if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. Why did he say lie not against the truth? Because if I'm kicking against the pricks and going hard, I'm lying against the truth. I'm having strife. That's not one of the fruits of the spirit. That's not somebody who's easy to talk to, right? Now, I can be wrong, and I have been wrong sometimes, but I have been somebody who's been, if you tell me something and it makes sense, and you show me in the Bible, I promise you, I'm going to bow down. You know what? You're right, brother. That's how we should be. Not that you're going to get everything right, because you're not, but you should at least be able to be easy to talk to concerning the scriptures. And I'm saying that because I've dealt with brothers to where I've had disagreements with, and I showed them I was like, brothers, look, it say this right here, and what you did was that, but right here, this is how we should be operating. Well, no, but that don't mean that. And not because it didn't mean that, but they felt a different way. You understand? That's lying against the truth, right? That's bitter envy and strife. That's kicking against the pricks, right? We shouldn't do that. But a lot of times, depending on how we feel, we don't do it. Now watch this. Verse 18, chapter 3, verse 18 of James. It says, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. Ain't that what I was just talking about? Somebody being easy to talk to? The Bible says the fruit of righteousness is sown in them that what? Make peace. So you have to be easy to talk to. How do I make peace without being easy to talk to? Somebody tell me that. You don't. There's no way you can make peace without being easy to talk to, right? I'm showing you how to stamp out envy. How to stamp it out. How to say, you know what? I'm not going to go through that. I'm not going to do that. These are one of the counteractors of envy. If you have these attributes or these qualities, that's how you, if that envying spirit is on you, or that vainglory spirit is on you, which it jumps on us all, this is how you counteract it. Does that make sense? Okay. We'll keep going. Now watch this. And it's so important that we do that and remember this, because the Most High, I'm telling y'all, he know what he made. That's why he put laws in the Bible telling us not to covet. He put laws in the Bible telling us not to envy. Watch this. Go to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 17. Watch this. And you're like, I wonder why he keep putting this stuff in here. Why does he keep putting this stuff in here? Why does he keep saying the same thing over and over again? Why? Because he know what the heck he made. He know these some hard-headed Negroes. Right? Now watch this. This is the book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 17. And it reads, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is in thy neighbor's. Why did he say it like that? Sometimes if you're married and you're going through hell with your wife, and every time you see Todd and his wife Regina, I'm just using names, they always are happy and they going through, a spirit of covetousness can come on you. Your wife could be like, well, damn, why come he don't treat me like Todd treat Regina? You could be like, well, damn, Regina always cool. Why come my wife can't act like that? Yeah. Well, you don't know what they go through in the privacy of their home, number one, and you don't know how they deal with each other, and you don't know what things they have in place to have a good relationship. So if you're more focused on that rather than them, the individuals, you might get somewhere. But a lot of times that spirit of covetousness comes on us. Somebody gets a new house. We still struggling in an apartment. You're like, damn, they have a housewarming party. Let me show you the bathroom. Let me show you the backyard. And it's like, oh, I can't stand this person. Like, we barely paid rent last week, and this nigga got a big ass backyard. I mean, these are things that actually happen. These are feelings, y'all, that people actually feel. We don't like to talk about them, but I promise you they really happen.
Yep.
And people really feel this way. Y'all understand that? But we have to remember how to combat these feelings. This is the flesh talking here. Remember, this is the flesh. And when you combat that feeling, watch this. You have to use restraint and you have to use gratitude. Restraint is temperance, y'all. Temperance is self-restraint, right? Gratitude is gratefulness, thankfulness, and readiness to show appreciation for and return kindness, meaning reciprocate kindness. Those are the attributes. So that way you don't have covetousness, like he said in 20 and 17. That way you don't cover your neighbor's wife. You don't cover his house. You don't cover your neighbor's manservant or the things that they have, right? Because when it says don't cover his manservant or his maidservant, that's really going into envying his or coveting in his or her finances. Because if I got enough money to have a maidservant or a manservant, that means I got money. Mm-hmm. So that's going into coveting what somebody has or how much money they make, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody don't have the same lot when it comes to financial stuff, right? I grew up mostly poor. My best friend, they were, for the lack of a better word, rich. They had money on top of money. Anytime something new came out, I had one pair of Jabot jeans. He had 7 pair of Jabot jeans and everything he wanted. And I've never felt jealousy for him, but maybe some covetousness because we struggled so hard. And I was like, damn, we was living in a house, but the house was run down and it needed to be, when they getting things done. I'm like, damn, I don't think I had jealousy on me, but I did want to have nice things.
Right.
And I struggled hard to have nice things as a young man before I could even go and get a job at work, because I came up meager. I had a best friend that was rich and I didn't have what he had. Right. Mm-hmm. So those things and feelings will come up in us, y'all. Just telling y'all, they will happen. And that's why he makes it a commandment that we don't covet or envy our neighbor's stuff, our neighbor's wife, our neighbor's money. Y'all understand that? Mm-hmm. Let's keep going. Go to Psalms chapter 37 and verse 1. Yeah, envy is a boogeyman. A lot of people don't know, because it comes on you when you don't really expect it. But envy a boogeyman. This is Psalms chapter 37 and verse 1. Watch this. It says, fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. Because sometimes it seems like that people that do wrong, or people that's living in the world or living of the world, they have more than you. They doing better than you. A lot of times people that you like, why does he got that? Why does he deserve that? Mm-hmm. He getting it in and he's wicked as hell. Right? Watch this. Verse 2. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. What does he just tell you? Don't look at what other people have. He said, trust in the Lord and do good. So you're going to be okay as long as you keep focusing on what you're supposed to focus on. Focus on, you may not be making as much as the next man, or you may not make what you want to make right now. But if you focused on the things that are coming to you, that helps you to stay level. That helps you to stay okay, right? You have to have contentment. If you don't have contentment, envy does come up in you. But guess what? Nobody really teaches us to have contentment, do they? Nobody shows you how to really just, look, man, let me show you how you need to be content. Nobody, who says that?
Nobody.
Nobody. But we have to learn that though, to where we don't get that spirit on us. I'm gonna show you. Go to First Timothy chapter 6 and verse 6. Watch this. We're gonna get some of that. It's First Timothy 6 and 6, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start at verse 5, okay? It says, perverse disputing of men of corrupt minds, destitute of the truth, supposing that gain is godliness, from such withdraw thyself, meaning withdraw yourself from people who think that gain is godliness, because gain is not godliness. And that will cause you to envy, right? Now watch this. Verse 6 says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. Did y'all hear that? Godliness with contentment is great gain. So you gain some if you learn how to be content with what you have, causing you not to what? Not to fall into what? Envy. Watch this. Verse 8. And having food and raiment, let us be therefore content. So what did he say? Be happy that you got food and clothes. Be happy with your stuff, right? Watch this. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare. Stop. What is a snare? A snare is a trap. So you fall into a trap, wanting what someone else has, wanting to be rich or wanting to be the bag or wanting to have overly much. Watch this. And unto many foolish and hurtful lusts. Stop. He said unto many foolish and hurtful lusts. That means causing yourself to envy or want something someone else has. It causes more stuff to happen. It causes more stuff, more jacked up things to happen in your life, right? Watch this. It says, which drown men in destruction and perdition. It says, which drown men in destruction, meaning you jacked up so much you don't even know that you jacked up no more. You're doing so much stuff to get so much things that you want. You don't even know, you don't realize that you're doing it. That is the trick of envy. That's the trick of that sin. Because you actually doing things that you think are fine. I'm hustling to get this, I'm hustling to make that, but you're actually doing it because of envy. And to you, it seems like no sin, no nothing at all, but you're actually doing something that is really against the Father, right? Watch this. Go to Proverbs 23 and 17. Because sometimes we do have blinders on when we're dealing with these deadly sins. And sometimes these deadly sins can put what? A blinder on you. They can put a blinder on you. This is Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 17. And it reads, let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. So he's telling you again, don't let your heart envy people that are wicked and have more than you. Don't let your heart do that. Why is he telling us that? Because guess what? You're going to be around a lot of wicked people who got more stuff than you or doing better than you financially, right? It's going to happen. Keep going. Watch this. Verse 18. For surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off. Why did he say that? Because you expect something from serving the Most High God. But your expectation won't be cut off if you just stay faithful and do what you stay in. Like there's an expression that we use, and we call it staying in your lane. Stay in your lane. Y'all know that expression? What happens when you go into somebody else's lane? It's going to be consequences, but you end up falling into envy because you want what they want. But if you stay in your own lane, you don't have to worry about that, right? A lot of times the Most High says this stuff over and over to remind us to stay in our lane, to remind us to be humble, to remind us, like 1 Timothy 6 and 6 says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. 1 Timothy 6 and 6. Godliness with contentment is great gain. Why did he tell you it's great gain? Because you're staying in your lane. You're not falling into envy, right? Let's keep going. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 1. We're going to get some more. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 1. I want y'all to hear this. It says, and I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. So he said, I'm gonna talk to you like y'all are children. Watch this. He says, verse 2, I will feed you with milk and not with meat, for hitherto ye were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able. Meaning, I could tell you some complicated stuff. I could tell you some big stuff, but you're not ready for that, right? So that's why we keeping it simple. That's why he's telling you the simple things of how to stamp out envy. Watch this. It says, verse 3, for ye are yet carnal, for whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are ye not carnal and walk even as man? So this is Paul speaking, and he said that there was envyings and strife and things going on among them. That is a natural disposition for us to have that. Because guess what? Strife comes with envy. Strife comes with that. Because once you envy, you end up not liking the person. You end up having a problem with them. You end up being at odds with somebody, right? He said he's telling them to get rid of that, not to do that. Verse 4, for while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, and are ye not carnal? So they're at this point, they're set tripping. They say, I get down with Paul.
Right.
I get down with Apollos. So they set tripping, and they're all Israelites. They're all supposed to be keeping God's laws, but they set tripping because of envy and strife. But it's causing them what? To get mad at each other, to go in on each other, right? Watch this. It says, who then is Paul, and who then is Apollos? But ministers by whom ye believe, even as the Lord gave to every man. So he said, look, every man is capable of this. Every man is capable of doing what Paul is doing. Every man is capable of doing what Apollos is doing. He said, who then is Paul and who then is Apollos? Who are y'all? And why are y'all taking it this far? Because of what? Envy. Because we shouldn't be worried about the person I follow is better than your person. That's all they're saying. That's just like kids arguing at school and saying, my daddy could beat your daddy up. It's nothing. What's different? It's the same thing, right? Because they envying each other, and it's causing them to have strife. We shouldn't do that, because guess what? We're all trying to get the kingdom. We're all Israelites. We're all trying to be righteous. We're all trying to keep these laws, right? That's why I see certain people out there. Me and my wife like certain people. We both listen to certain people on YouTube because we think they're good teachers, right? But we don't put them out of their place. You know, oh, he just the man because he did. No, I'm not gonna put that. I'm not gonna put this man on. This man is carrying out the word of the Lord for me to hear and for me to listen to, right? And what I told a friend of mine, because I got people say, man, you sure got people coming in, and man, people coming in, and you just got a congregation there. I said, I don't look at leadership as making me somebody big and bad. I look at it as a burden. Because guess what? If I make a wrong decision, people get hurt. If I make a bad decision, I can cause people to be a stumbling block to people. So I look at it as something very serious. And so I don't look at it as a lot of people see it to be. It's a burden. And I don't say burden is something that I don't want. I say it is something that it's a task that I have to complete. Y'all understand that? I look at it as a job, like the office, like they say, the office of a bishop, the office of an officer, the office of this. It's nothing more to me than an office of something I have to do correctly, or if I don't, people are going to suffer. Does that make sense?
A lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of you, brother, you said it 100% correct. That's a lot of pressure, right? And I always think about how I do. That's why I was listening to my wife when she said what she said this morning, because it just, it threw me out. But guess what? I had the gall in me to listen to her, right? Now watch this. What was that? Verse 5? Verse 6, it says, I have planted, Apollos watered, but Yahweh gives the increase. So then there is he which planted So then neither is it he that planted anything. Meaning it is not that man that does that. It's not that man, right? It says, neither he that watereth, but Yahweh that giveth the increase. Y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
So where does the glory go to?
Okay.
Who gets the glory? So how do I stand up and be big and bad? Or how does that spirit of covetousness and envy come on me if I know that the Father gets the glory? Y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to. So that's how we stamp out. And I'm gonna read this for them because they just now coming in. The way you stamp it out, the way you battle envy is through gratitude and temperance. Gratitude is gratefulness, thankfulness, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. That's what gratitude is, right? That's the opposite of envy. Now, temperance is self-restraint. Self-restraint. That's how you battle envy. Okay? All right, we're going to keep going. We're going to go to gluttony. 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 I want you to turn to Philippians chapter 3 and verse 18. We're going to tackle gluttony. And I'm sorry, I don't want to go too fast and too far into it because we gotta tackle. I want to get all these deadly sins out today. Chapter 3 and verse 18 of the book of Philippians, and it reads, For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you, even weeping, that they are the enemies of the cross of Christ, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who minds earthly things. Stop. When it says mind earthly things, what is that talking about? It says their glory is in their belly, and they mind earthly things. Slothfulness, not slothfulness, gluttony is definitely in food. But gluttony can also be an overliness of want, an overliness of wanting to have things, because it's a form of greed. That's what gluttony is. It's a form of being greedy, right? And you could be greedy for money. You could be gluttony for money. You could be, of course, food, and we're gonna go into that. But gluttony just not. It doesn't. I'm saying that because it doesn't just stop at food. Okay, and we're gonna go into some things to teach us how to function when it comes to dealing with gluttony and food and all that thing. We're gonna talk about that, but we got to talk about all of it, right? We got to talk about every part of it, right? And it tells us that their God is their belly. So that means that how you feel or your wants become your priority rather than what the Most High God wants. That's what turns it into a gluttonous situation. You know how you talk to a person about you shouldn't eat pork, right? But because they feel how they feel about pork, it kind of changes them. You say, and this is what we watched our brothers teach on the streets. They say, do you love God? They'll say, yes, right? They say, do you listen to the Bible? Well, yes. Okay. Well, what if the Bible say you can't eat pork? Well, brother, so his God is his belly, because he said he loved God, but now I showed you, look, let's go to Leviticus 11:7 and show you that you can't do that, right? Mm-hmm. So that person is listening to how they feel or what their taste buds rather than what the Father say, right? That's their God is their belly. It's as simple as that. That's a simple thing. A lot of people make it more complicated, but it's not. It is not more complicated than that. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 16. So we're going to get more into it. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 16. And I know it's one y'all heard, but we got to go over it because this has everything to do with gluttony. Watch this. Chapter 3, verse 16, and it reads, Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. Y'all see that? So this is showing us how we have to take care of our temple. Now this is physical, right? This is something. This ain't spiritual. It's not metaphorical. He said, "You are the temple of God. He will destroy you if you what." Now watch this. Overeating is part of that. Because if you overeat, your stomach gets bigger, right? It causes you to So you have to take care of your temple by what? Being modest in certain things that you do. After me and my wife fast, we don't eat no whole lot. When we come out on a fast, we eat modestly. Why? Because that's how we're supposed to do, right? Everything in what? Moderation. To what? Make sure that we don't be gluttonous, right? And watch this. This is a learned behavior, y'all. It's learned. This ain't something that you just get and, I just got it. No. Somebody's going to teach you this. Somebody's going to teach you not to be gluttonous. Somebody's going to teach you how to take care of your temple. You're going to get it through learning. You're not going to get it through, I just figured it out for myself over time that I just do this. No, doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. You're going to learn how not to be gluttonous. It's a learned behavior. Watch this. I want you to go to Sirach chapter 30 and verse 24. I'm going to show you how this is a learned behavior. Chapter 30 and verse 24 of the book of Sirach. It says, envy and wrath shorten the life, and carefulness bringeth age before the time. Carefulness meaning worry. A cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet. Y'all see that? A person that's looking after themselves, they're going to have a care of what? Their meat and their diet, meaning the things that they put into their temple. Right? Mm-hmm. We have to make sure that we're looking at that. Now watch this. Watch this. I want you to go to Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 20. Proverbs 23 and 20. Watch this. Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 20. And it reads, be not among wine bibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh. Stop. If you know somebody who's always drinking too much, that is a form of gluttony, is it not? If you know somebody who, it says riotous eaters of flesh. Now, what is that? Give me an example of a riotous eater of flesh. It's just somebody who's overindulging in meat. That's all it is. Somebody who's overindulging, like, give me this, and they plate beef. Like, and you looking at them, because that's the same as a person who's drinking too much. Because the Most High just compared the two to both to each other. Because I read it again. He said, be not among wine bibbers. And we know wine bibber is a wino or a drunk, right? Mm-hmm. And be it beer, alcohol, hard liquor, or wine. It says among riotous eaters of flesh. Verse 21, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Because, after you eat, you get sleepy, makes you lazy, right? And then watch this. If you eat into your fill every time and your stomach, our stomachs y'all know our stomachs can shrink and get small and big, right? If you eat a lot all the time, your stomach is going to be at a certain bigness, and you're going to eat something modest, and then it's going to feel like you're hungry, right? So then you have to train your stomach to receive less food. Over time, your stomach shrinks back to its original form, and you okay. But you have to make sure that you're eating modestly so that you don't stretch your stomach, because stomachs have the ability to stretch, right? Have y'all ever tried like tripe, cow tripe? Tripe?
Menudo.
Yeah, menudo. That's what's in menudo, right? That's cow stomach. If you ever eat it, and I like fried cow tripe, it's rubbery, right? You got to fry it, right, sis? I know you know about menudo, right? I know you do, sis. It's rubbery because that's the cow's stomach. It's able to stretch, right? And so you have to be careful because you don't want to have it stretchy. And then we have to teach this to our kids. Like, look, we're going to stop you here. Eat this much, but cool, right? That's a learned behavior. That's something we learn over time, y'all. Right? True. Watch this. Go to Proverbs 25 and 16. We're going to get some more. Proverbs 25 and 16. Watch this. It says, hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomit it. I'm going to read it again. Hast thou found honey, meaning something sweet, right? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomit it. Y'all understand that?
Yeah.
Watch this. Withdraw thy foot from thy neighbor's house, lest he be weary of thee and so hate thee. It's talking about somebody who's overindulging at somebody else's home.
Yeah.
When you go to a person's home, you don't want to be overly or the first person to grab the first. You want to be modest. So you want to be a good host, a good guest, not a good host. You want to be a good guest, right? You wanted them to want to serve you again, right? So there's a way to conduct yourself when you're at somebody else's house. You don't ever get the last of something. You use what we call discretion. Y'all understand that? Mm-hmm. You're using discretion. You know what I'm saying? Because a little bit is sufficient for us at times. You understand? But we're going to get some more. Watch this. Go to chapter 25 and verse 16 of the book of Proverbs. 25 and 16. Watch this. 25. We already read it?
Yeah.
All right, good. Go to Sirach 31 and 18. Sirach chapter 31 and verse 18. Now this is one of my favorites. This is going to teach you something here. Watch this. This is Sirach 31 and verse 18. It says, when thou sittest among many, reach not thine hand out first of all. Meaning if you go to a feast day, don't be the first one to reach your hand out to try to get something. Watch this. It says, a very little is sufficient for a man, well nourished, and he fetches not his wind short unto his bed. Stop. What does that mean? When it says fetch his wind short unto his bed, when you eat a lot, it causes you to fart. That's what it called fetching your wind. But he's saying a very little is sufficient unto man. You don't have to eat a lot when you go different places. You want to eat a little, not a lot. And it says it says, and he fetches not his wind short unto his bed. Meaning he don't, because your body gonna start instantly processing the food. So that can cause some people to have gas when you eat a lot like that, right? My wife say water give me gas, but it just, you want to make sure you're not doing that or eating a lot because you are gonna have gas. Watch this. It says, verse 20, sound sleep cometh of moderate eating. Sound sleep cometh of moderate eating, meaning you get to sleep good when you eat like you're supposed to. He riseth early, and his wits are with him. But the pain of switching and choler and pangs of the stomach. That means when it says pings of the stomach, that means when your stomach is making that grumbling noise, because it's processing, and you might got some gas in there because you didn't ate too much. Watch this. It says, and pings of the belly are with an unsatisfiable man, meaning a man who overate, a man who was gluttonous. Read 21. And if thou hast been forced to eat, arise, go forth, vomit, and thou shalt have rest. What is that saying? Somebody's saying if you were forced to eat, arise, vomit. Because you shouldn't be eating until you vomit, right? That's not a good thing, right? But if you don't vomit, it's going to come out the other way, which is going to cause it to be, it's going to cause that stomach to stretch, right? So that's not good.
Nope.
Now watch this, verse 22. My son, hear me and despise me not. Meaning, when a lot of times when we talk about issues of these, it does cause people to get defensive, because this is an issue that you have to, it's a sensitive issue, and it's an issue that people don't really talk about a lot, right? Watch this. And at the last thou shalt find as I told thee, in all thy works be quick, and so shall there no sickness come unto thee. And when it says sickness, it's also talking about excess of weight, gaining weight from overeating. Because remember, gaining weight from overeating, that's also a sickness. That is also bad, right? It says, whoso is liberal of his meat, men shall speak well of him. And the report of his good housekeeping will be received. Meaning whoever is does it properly, whoever goes and eats like they're supposed to, whoever is a good guest, right? People are going to want you to come back to their house because you're a good guest, right? Now watch this. But against him that is a niggard of his meat, the whole city shall murmur, and the testimony of his niggardness shall not be doubted of. So remember, a niggard is a person who is stingy and greedy, right? A stingy, greedy person, right? With no regard for anything. You don't want to be thought of as a niggard. Do you want to invite a niggard to your house? Right? Do you want a niggard to be in your home? You don't want that. Right? I don't want to be thought of as a niggard. Right? I want you to, if I come to your house to have a feast or eat or whatever, I want to be invited back. So I want to act properly. Does that make sense? I want to behave myself. So you be like, man, I like Shi'yah. I'm gonna have him come back. He didn't eat the last steak. He wasn't even going in like that. I had one steak. I had what they fixed me. I ate what they put in front of me, and I was cool. We sat, we talked, we drank, we danced, we told jokes, we played board games, and I got up and I went home. Great guest. That's the type of guest I want to be. That's the type of guest I always try to be, right? That's the type of guest we all should be looking forward to try to be, right? That's what we want to be, right? Did I get everything? Let me see. I'm gonna keep reading to 25. Watch this, verse 25. Show not thy valiantness of wine, for wine has destroyed many. Stop. It's telling us not to, when we go places, not to overdrink, right? Not to overdrink. I don't want to be worried about my brothers getting home safe after we have a night. I don't want you to be so, and then I'm like, oh man, I hope I didn't. Because if something happened, you get hurt, I feel like it's my fault, especially if you come away from my home. If you came from my house, I feel somewhat responsible. Mm-hmm. So we want to, and it's just basically telling us to be responsible, to get past what? Gluttony, to not be gluttonous like that, right? Last one. Go to Psalms chapter 78 and verse 17. Psalm 78 and 17. And remember, this is teaching us, this is actually, if you know how to listen to the Father, this is actually teaching us how to be. It's teaching us how to be with one another. This is Psalms chapter 78 and verse 17. And it reads, and they sinned yet more against him by provoking the Most High in the wilderness. And they tempted God in their heart by asking meat of their lust. So they were, when we were in the forest, we were ungrateful, right? And we wanted what we wanted. Now, we could have survived on manna, we could have survived on the bread, but we wanted meat. Now, watch this. It says, yea, they spake against God, and they said, can God furnish a table in the wilderness? Behold, he smote the rock, that the waters gushed out and the stream overflew. Can he give bread also? Can he provide flesh for us, for his people? Therefore, the Lord heard this and was wroth. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came against Israel. Meaning, we just wanted everything. We wanted meat. We wanted the water. We wanted everything the way we wanted it, and we wanted all that stuff yesterday. Meaning, we had no patience. We had no patience for it, right? But remember, we have to have self-restraint when it comes to that. Patience is part of that counteract for gluttony, envy, sloth, all these things. Patience is something that is very, very, very necessary for all these things. Now, let me read patience off real quick before we go further. It says forbearance, tolerance, suffering without getting angry or upset. That's patience. That's what we got to develop if we're going to do what's right. Right? Verse 22, because they believed not in God and trusted not in his salvation. Stop. A lot of times when you want things when you want it, that shows unbelief. It shows that you're kind of going off of your own heart, off your own mind, right? Leaning on your own understanding, not waiting for the Lord, right? That's a place we don't want to be. Let's talk about wrath. Let's go to wrath. Wrath is the the sixth deadly sin that we have. Now, wrath, we counteract wrath with patience. And it says forbearance, tolerance, suffering without getting angry or upset. So patience is the counter to wrath. Patience, practicing just patience is the counter to wrath. Now watch this. I want you to go to Sirach chapter 28. I want to read that with you real quick. Sirach chapter 28. I want to read that real quick with you. This is Sirach chapter 28, and it reads, he that vengeth shall find vengeance, for the Lord he will surely keep his sin in remembrance. I'm going to read that again. He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Lord, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance. Meaning, if you revenge, if you always want to get your lick back, if you always want to get even with people, that's gonna be to your detriment, right? Watch this, verse 2. Forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he has done unto thee. So shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest. Stop. What did Christ tell us when we do our prayer? And I believe it's in Matthew 6, when we do our prayer. Don't he say, if we don't forgive people our sin, their trespasses, that the Most High won't forgive our trespasses against us? So when you revenge, it's a form of non-forgiveness. When you want your lick back or want to get even, it's a form of non-forgiveness, right? It's a form of wrath, right? Watch this. Verse 3, it says, wait. Verse 2, excuse me. Forgive thy neighbor of the hurt that he has done unto thee, so shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest. Verse 3. One man bears hatred against another, and doth he seek pardon from the Lord? Meaning, you bear hatred towards your brother, right? But that same man gonna seek pardon from God. That's an oxymoron. It makes no sense. If you hate your brother and you still have not forgiven him for his sin, but then you pray to God and say, Lord, please forgive me for what I did yesterday. I'm sorry. Well, how do you expect to be forgiven if you can't then forgive? Because one of the attributes or one of the stipulations for being forgiven for sin is you have to be ready to what? Do I get to be forgiven for any sin I committed if I have a spirit of non-forgiveness on me? Wait. Let me ask y'all this. Is this applicable only to Shi'yah? Is this applicable only to me? Who does it extend to?
Israel.
Who?
Israel.
Well, maybe it's some exemptions for some of us, though. Is anybody exempt? Say it again. La'ah. Nobody's extended. Nobody's exempt. Watch this. It says, verse 4, he showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself, and doth he ask forgiveness for his own sins? Verse 5, if he that is but flesh nourisheth hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins? So you can't nourish hatred. You got to let go. If I have a problem with my brother and I've held on to this grudge, right? And something happens to me in the meanwhile, what happens to me? If I haven't let go of my grudge and I get killed in a car crash tomorrow, that's not going to look good for me, right? It's not going to be good because I haven't learned to let go of my hatred. I haven't learned to let go of my sin. Y'all see that? And it says, and he tells you in verse 5, he said, if he that is but flesh nourisheth hatred, you can't nourish your hatred. Now, what does it mean to nourish your hatred? Just not letting go. That's what nourishing hatred is. If somebody offends you and you didn't let go, I told my daughter this. My daughter had a big problem with this. And I always tell y'all, you know, my 17 youngest daughter, she's doing time right now. And before things messed up with her, she always held on to every grudge. She always, if anybody offended her, she never let it go. She always, and I used to tell her, you can't, sweetie, you cannot do that. You cannot be that way. You know what I'm saying? Because she walked around in life as if she would never offend somebody. Now, how many of us in this room has never offended somebody? Show of hands. Who's ever not offended anybody? So you know that you're going to offend somebody, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't walk around in a disposition that anybody who offends you, I can't let it go. Because you're going to, at some point in your life, what? Offend somebody, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't what? I'm going to read it again. Verse 5. If he that is but flesh nourish hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins? So if you're holding on to a grudge, who's gonna entreat you? Who's gonna forgive your sin? Y'all see that? Watch this. Verse what's that? Verse 6. Remember thy end and let enmity cease. What is enmity? That's whatever problem you're going through with that person. He said, let enmity cease. Let hatred cease. Let that harshness or that grudge dissipate or disappear. Y'all see that? Now I'm showing y'all how to stamp out wrath, right? It says, remember corruption and death and abide in the commandments. Verse 7, remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember, why does he keep saying remember? Do you see what he's doing? He keeps telling you to remember, bro, remember that you jacked up too. Right. Remember that you messed up too. Remember that you're wrong about a lot of stuff too. Because it's easier to let go of your hatred when you can remember that you jacked up too. When you can remember you're wrong, it's easier for me to let something go against you. If I can remember, you know what, I did some jacked up stuff a few years back. And I did some stuff. So now he's telling you to remember yours. So that what? When somebody offends you, you can remember yours and let it go when you're offended against. Nah, but man, that was just jacked up what you did to me though. I don't know if I can let that go. Well, cuz. Well, dog. I understand it was bad. But guess what? You got to let it go. That's why he's saying, I'm going to read that again. Remember the commandments. Because remember, Leviticus 17 and 19 tells you what? Thou shalt not bear any grudge, right? When he says thou shalt not, that's a commandment that you can't have a grudge, right? Mm-hmm. Watch this. And bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at ignorance. Stop. What does it mean to wink at ignorance? Somebody give me an example. What does it mean to wink at ignorance? Remember, people gonna sin against you. So some people do it unknowingly, unwillingly, in ignorance. Say that again. When it says wink at ignorance, when people do stupid stuff, sometimes you gotta let it go. Sometimes you gotta let it go. You gotta let it just be, man, he's stupid. Whatever. I'm gonna let it. That's how you have to look at it. And I'm not telling you to call him stupid, but you already said it to yourself, like, man, that dude's stupid. Let it go. Let it go. Mm-hmm. That's what winking at ignorance is. Now watch this. Verse 8. Abstain from strife, and thou shalt diminish thy sins. Ooh, stop. We got to unpack that one. He said, abstain from strife, and thou shalt diminish thy what? So when abstaining from strife is forgiving somebody for something they did against you. If I abstain from strife or having a grudge or having a situation, I will have diminished my sins, right? Is the Bible a lying book? Is it a lying book? Or is it a book of the truth? Truth. Okay, I'm going to read it again. Abstain from strife, and thou shalt diminish thy sins. For a furious man will kindle strife. A sinful man disquieteth friends and maketh debate among them that be at peace. We have to abstain from strife. We have to make sure that we don't, because that's where the remnants of wrath comes from. Wrath is started. Wrath, the beginning of it is started with a conversation. Y'all understand that? Mm-hmm. Before that wrath, it started with a conversation. And then the conversation get bigger, and then a misunderstanding happens, and then it blows up, and then you react to something somebody said. That's how wrath started. So he's telling us to abstain from these things. Abstain from strife, and then you're going to diminish your what? Your sins. Right? Because this is the only thing that can stop wrath happening. Watch this. Patience is the opposite of wrath, right? I'm going to say it again. Patience is the opposite of wrath, right? So the definition is forbearance, tolerance, suffering without getting angry or upset. That's what patience is. So once we start practicing patience, we move ourselves from wrath. Why is that very important? Because that's one of the 7 deadly sins, and it can get up in you real quick, and you don't even know it. Because remember, and I want to, before I get off of wrath, because we tackled it a good ways. The opposite of wrath, not the opposite of wrath, is a reaction or an emotion. Y'all understand that? Wrath is a reaction or an emotion. It's a very strong emotion, right? That's why it's called wrath, right? So we have to make sure that we pay attention to that. I want you to do me a favor. We're going to get that in Matthew chapter 6 and verse 14. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 4. That's the Lord's Prayer. It's the one that we pray every single, I pray it every night with my wife. I use it every night with my wife, but because this is how Christ taught me to pray. So I use this every night. There's not one day goes by that I don't say this prayer. Okay. Chapter 6 and verse 14, it says, for if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. Will also forgive you. Verse 15. But if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive you your trespasses. Boom. That's plain. Y'all see that? Mm-hmm. It's that simple. It's that easy. But this is something that needs to be talked about, because a lot of times we do not forgive, and we do have a spirit of non-forgiveness on us, depending on who the person is. But I could have forgave anybody, but not that nigga. I could have forgave anybody, anything they did, but not him. He ain't. Yes, him. Him too. Him too. Because it doesn't give you everybody except Tyrone. Is that what the scriptures say? Nope. Everybody except Tyrone. Nope. Even Tyrone, you got to forgive him too. Y'all understand that? Mm-hmm. Let's keep going. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26. Let's keep going. Ephesians 4 and 26. Watch this. This is Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26. It says, be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down on your wrath. Watch this. The reason why I went here is because I'm not going to tell you that you can't be angry. Anger and wrath are different things. They're not. I can be angry and disappointed in people's behavior. I don't have to like what you do. So I'm not gonna, because a lot of times we think that we can't even get mad. That's not true. You can get mad. You can say, and when you driving in your car, you say, "Oh, stupid ass." You can get upset. But what you can't do is the wrath part. He's telling you that don't let your anger make you sin. Now, what? Somebody give me an example of how anger can make you sin. Because it's not the anger. Because the Most High gets mad at us all the time, right? Moses get mad at us. He got mad at us several times for the stupid stuff we did. It's not the anger. What is it? It's the action that follows the anger that gets you in trouble. I don't have to like what you do. I can vocally tell you, bro, that was dumb. That wasn't cool. But if I go further and I turn it into wrath because of my anger, that's the problem. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I don't want y'all to ever think you can't be mad because people gonna make you feel emotion. I can't. If my man sit here and say some crazy stuff right now to me, and I say, "Well, I promise not to get mad." What? I can't promise you I won't get upset. I can promise you how I will behave or how I would conduct myself after he says it, but I can't promise you that I won't get mad. Y'all understand that? And I say that because in Christianity, there's a false perception there because getting mad. Because I've had women say this to me. Oh, see, you said you got mad. See, like what? It's the reaction. I didn't say anything, so you can't put me up under that type of scrutiny. And a lot of times they don't understand what sin is, so they get upset with you, or they try to penalize you for being angry. You can't penalize them for being angry. That's an involuntary response. It's a natural emotion. And you're actually supposed to, anger checks the spirit. You're actually supposed to be angry. Anger is actually healthy if it's done correctly. Do you know that? If it's correct, it's actually healthy for you because it checks the spirit. It lets you know when somebody stepped out of line with you. It lets you know how to conduct yourself. It lets you know how you need to continue after we go through this. It lets me know how I need to continue with this person, how I got to move after this. Mm-hmm. Y'all understand that? Mm-hmm. So it's actually a good thing. Okay? I'm going to read that last part again. It says, "Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down on your wrath. Neither give place to the devil." When it says neither give place to the devil, that's talking about what you do in the anger. That's talking about what you do as a result of your anger. Don't give place to the devil. So don't do nothing stupid in your anger. Con, y'all understand that? Go to chapter 1 and 19 of the book of James. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna get this done. Book of James, chapter 1, verse 19. It says, "Wherefore, beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath." So we want to hear it more than we speak, right? Mm-hmm. Slow to speak. He also says slow to wrath. Why does he say slow to wrath? He could have said wrath not.
But sometimes it's needed.
Sometimes it's needed. Depending on the situation. If a man busts in here right now and try to attack our children, what do you think we're gonna do? What you think we're gonna do? We're gonna handle our business. Yep. So that's why he didn't say wrath not. Sometimes these things are necessary, but you have to use your discernment of spirit and know when these things are appropriate. Right. We got to understand when these things are appropriate, because when I don't want to create a disposition of, oh, we're just going to be nice. We're monks. And if they hit us, we're not going to do anything. That's not true. The law of the land say if a man attacks you, you have a right to defend yourself. So we're not going to go anything that's contrary to the law of the land. Y'all understand that? Mm-hmm. And we're gonna give the law demands that you give the appropriate reaction. Response, yeah. You can't shoot him 10 times because he made you right. There's an appropriate reaction to everything. right? So you have to know how to respond to people, right? Okay. Go to Romans chapter 5 and verse 8. The book of Romans chapter 5 and verse 8. Watch this. This is Romans chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, But God commendeth his love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. When it says he commanded his love towards us, he commanded his love. That's a commandment that he commanded towards us, right? Now watch this. What is his love? To keep the commandments, right? That's the love, right? 1 John 5 and 3, right? Verse 9. Much more then, being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. So we know that there is a judgment coming. Now this wrath that he's talking about is judgment, right? This is, so the other word he used instead of judgment, he used wrath, right? So this is what we should be saved, or going to be saved by, if we what? Follow what Christ said, listen to what he said, listen to his teachings, right? Obey, right? We'll be saved from what? Judgment, right? Now watch this. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 14. The book of Hebrews, let's get one more of those. Hebrews 12 and 14. The book of Hebrews chapter 12, and I'm going to start at verse 14. It says, follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. So he's showing us that we have to be holy, meaning separate, and we have to be peace. We got to have peace in our hearts, right? Watch this. Verse 15. Look diligently, lest any man fall of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness spring up, trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. What is a root of bitterness springing up in you? That's a hatred that you can't get rid of. That's a problem that you have with a person that you can't let go of. Why did he call it a root of bitterness? Because you cut the head off. When you cut the head off of a root, what happens? When you got the edges, you cutting your grass, right? You cut the head off of the root of the weed. What happens after 3-4 days? It does what? It grows back, right? So we have to get the root of bitterness out of us if we're trying to be righteous. The root of bitterness or hatred or wrath, we have to stamp it out. So if you forgive a person, and this is all he tells, if you forgive a person, you need to really forgive. If you let go of something, don't let go of it and pick it back up. Right? And I'm telling y'all this because I have experienced this. I've had to go through I've had to fast to get feelings off of me for people wronging me. But I did it because I knew how to do it. Right? Some people, and that's an important thing. You can't get the kingdom if you caught up in hatred and wrath and bitterness and strife and not, you know what I'm saying? You can't get the kingdom like that. So it says, I'm gonna read it again. It says, look diligently, lest any man fall of the grace of God, meaning he lacks the grace of God. He doesn't have any grace in his heart. Watch this. Lest any root of bitterness spring up and trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Why? It's showing that they can't forgive. That's showing a spirit of non-forgiveness. You're defiled. Why are you defiled? Because you can't let it go. That's why you defiled. When my brother going through his personal stuff, I've been through divorce in my life. I've been married 3 times. I lied 4 times. And when you go through something personal, a root of bitterness does come up in you. You do have harsh feelings for that person because they do mean things, right? But guess what? If we're going to get the kingdom, we got to get all of it off us. We got to even forgive those people that did those dastardly things to hurt us. That's a hard lick, ain't it? That's a hard lick. But you do got to let it go. Because guess what? You can't cut the surface off and say, I'm cool. No, you got to truly let it go. You got to truly, you know what? She did some stupid stuff. She was wrong. Bro, you know what? I'm cool. I'm look, for real. I'm gonna let it go. Does that mean you put yourself around that person in stupidity? Like, set yourself up to get hurt again by that person? No. You just move on and you just let go and you forgive. Easier said than done, I know. But guess what? These are things that have to be done because he just showed you that the root of bitterness can spring up in you and what? Defile you. That's a very serious thing. And you want to let that thing go. And I say that because, and I mentioned my brother and my personal self because those are things that's hard to get rid of, right? When somebody hurts you it's a thin line between love and hurt. Somebody that you've been in love with and hurt you, it's hard not to hate, right? It's hard not to show bitterness, right? But you still got to let that go, right? That's why I mentioned it because it's one of the hardest things to do. I don't want to give y'all examples of something easy to stamp out. No, we deal with stuff in our real life that's hard to let go. Right? Mm-hmm. What are you saying, sis? Go ahead.
So is there a thin line when you do forgive, but you choose to handle that person accordingly?
Well, you forgive, but if that because the repentance is upon you, the forgiveness is for you. Okay? If the person hasn't changed, you understand how to move, but you still have to forgive, right? You still have to let go, right? Now, it's difficult. If it's a spouse, it's harder. But the only way we show certain things to our spouses that don't get it is through our works. It's through constantly enduring. Because remember, temperance, patience, long suffering is part of that process. And that's the process that makes it hard. Because a person, if you're trying to work something out, and your person see you sincerely trying, if they love you, they're going to get tired of hurting you. But you may have to get hurt a few times to let the person look, I'm so over. I'm tired of being hurt. It hurts. But a lot of times we go through these things, because this is what we're called to do. We got to bear that cross. We bear our cross, things are what they are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's just hard. It hurts. And I'm not telling you that it's easy, sis. That's why I'm trying to tackle the hard stuff. I'm trying to tackle the stuff that you don't like. I don't want to talk about that. No, nigga, we're going to talk about that one. Mm-hmm. Like, you understand, sis? Like, we're going to talk about that one. Because if I sit here and talk surface, it's easy for me to talk surface than for me to talk about things that really hit home, that really, really, you know what I'm saying, bother a person, because we got to understand how to deal with those things. Right? If you love me, don't you see I'm hurting? Like, why you keep hurting me? If you really love me, and then y'all get to learn and grow from that. You understand? But I'm going to try to keep doing what's right. And don't think, look, we all going through this thing called life. And sometimes these relationships are the hardest thing. They're testing us. They're challenging us, right? Some people's biggest test in their life is their wife. Some people's biggest test in their life is their children. Some people's biggest test in their life is their husband. I'm telling y'all, some of these things I just mentioned to y'all is going to be y'all biggest test. And now, listen, I want to pass. I'm sorry, I want to pass my test. So I want to know what to do that's correct so I can do it, even if it hurts. Y'all understand that? Because sometimes some of these things are going to hurt. The Bible says we're going to get a scourging. Hebrews chapter 12, and he said he going to scourge. Do you know what a scourging is? A scourging is a harsh ass whipping. That's what it is. Excuse my French. And some of us are going to go to keep these laws. We're going to get a harsh scourging. And we're going to feel like, and myself, I don't feel like I deserve it, but hell, who am I?
And like you say, that goes with 1 John 5:2, and he say, basically like, for the love of, your brother or children.
That's right.
To keep the commandments, and that's also the love for the Most High God.
That's right.
And just like he did Job, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, keeping the commandments,
Mm-hmm.
he'll remove that family out the way and bring you a
a whole nother family. And I'm glad you said that, because the way that you treat your spouse is how you treat God.
That's right.
I'm glad you said that. That's 1 John chapter 5, and I think verse 2 and 3. The way that a lot of people don't understand that the way you treat your wife is how you is a direct result of how you treat the Most High. The way you treat when my wife shows me reverence and shows me respect and shows me love, it's really not given to me, but it's given to how she feels about the Most High. So how do you think that reciprocates? The way I treat her is how I treat the Most High. You cannot separate. What you mean, this nigga? No, you can't separate this nigga from the Most High. It's the same. Y'all can't do that. And a lot of times when you feel in a certain way, you do want to separate the two, don't you? But you can't. Well, go ahead.
You can't separate that person from yourself either, because y'all one.
Say that again.
You can't separate that person from yourself either, because y'all one.
Because y'all are what?
One.
Because y'all are what?
One.
He did. I'll stop him when he started lying, y'all. When he started lying in here, I will stop him. I cannot stop him yet. I can't stop him because he ain't telling lies. He's telling thus says the Lord. And we have to listen to that. We have to do those things that are needful for our salvation. That's going to involve you putting your flesh under subjection. That's why we're talking about these 7 deadly sins, because this is putting your flesh in subjection, doing something you don't want to do for the greater good, right? Y'all have to understand that. Y'all have to get that in y'all minds, okay? I want you to go to Sirach. Now we're going to talk about sloth before we finish. Sloth, laziness, sloth. We got to talk about that, because sloth is something. Now watch this. Sloth is laziness or non-productivity, reluctance to work or make an effort, complacency, and slow moving. That's what sloth is, right? That's a very important one. It's probably one of the most deadly ones. Sloth is very deadly. Now watch this. What's a counteractor to sloth? What's a counteractor to sloth? Anybody?
Motivation.
Well, diligence. Diligence is the counter to sloth. Watch this. Diligence is careful and what is that? Persistent work or effort. Careful and or persistent work or effort. That's the counter to sloth. Watch this. I want you guys to go to Sirach 22. We're almost done, y'all. Sloth is the last one, but I want to make sure that we nail down what we need to nail down for sloth and get all these deadly sins. And remember, y'all, these sins are what holds us back from the kingdom. These sins are what holds us back for being the best people that we could be. If we stamp these out, we can do better. We can be better. Okay? This is the last deadly sin, sloth. Watch this. This is Sirach chapter 22 and verse 1. It says, a slothful man is compared to a filthy stone, and everyone will hiss him out of his disgrace. So a slothful man is compared to a filthy stone, meaning a dirty rock. That's the same. If you see a dirty rock with mud on it, it's the same as a slothful man. It's comparing the two, right? Watch this. It says, verse 2, a slothful man is compared to a filthy, to the filth. Excuse, I'll read that again. A slothful man is compared to the filth of a dunghill. What is a dunghill? It's a pile of what?
Doo-doo.
So now he's comparing a slothful man to a pile of doo-doo. Do you see how dangerous that is? Do you see how important it is not to be slothful? Because he's compared. I don't know any worse comparison that you can give a person than to be compared to a pile of doo-doo. Right? That's a lot of people don't look at sloth as one of the most deadly sins, but it is very horrible. Inproductivity, not willing to work, not willing, because a lot of us can be slothful in our marriage. We could be slothful at work. We could be slothful when it comes to forgiveness, right? Slothful, once it gets in, it's contagious, right? We got to make sure that we don't be that. I want to be the opposite of slothful, since he compared it to boo-boo. I don't want to be compared to that, right? Watch this, verse 3. An evil-natured son is dishonored of his father that begot him, and a foolish daughter is born to his loss. So now he's comparing being slothful to being what? Evil nature, right? Just not wanting to do, right? Verse 4. A wise daughter shall bring an inheritance to her husband, but she that liveth dishonestly is her father's heaviness. So it's talking about the results or the different people that have sloth in them, right? Watch this. Verse 5. She that is bold dishonoreth both her father and her husband, but they both shall despise her. These are attributes to what? That person, that slothfulness. And we're going to read the definition to slothfulness again. It says slothfulness, lazy or non-productive, reluctance to work or make an effort, complacency, slow moving. Wow. We have to remember that. That's very important. Now watch this. I want you to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 18. We're going to get that real quick. Ecclesiastes 10 and 18. Watch this. It says, by much slothfulness, the building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands, the house droppeth through. Y'all see that? So he's talking about the house, meaning our house, right? Idleness of hands, not doing anything, not putting effort into, right? And he's telling us, he says, by much slothfulness, the building decays. By not doing anything, by not being active, by not being productive, slothfulness takes over. When it says the building decay, this is your foundation. This is your life. This ain't talking about just working out. I always feel bad when I don't get up in the morning and work out, but this is talking about everything surrounding your life. Right? Mm-hmm. Watch this. Watch this. Verse 19. It says, a feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. Right? So it's telling you, when it says money answers all things, this doesn't mean that money is the only thing. This just means that money is a part of life, right? We have to work. If you don't work, you don't eat, right? Mm-hmm. So it's necessary. Like a lot of people say, it ain't all about money. No, absolutely not. It's not all about money. But if you don't have money, if you're not making money, if you're not being productive, you don't get to take care of your family in the way that they need to be taken care of, right? So it's giving you the importance or the necessity of getting up and going to work, getting up and not being idle, right? Not being lazy, right? Not being obstinate. What is that word he used? Let me see that word again. Not being, what is that word? Complacency. Not being complacent, okay? Not being slow moving, right? Now watch this. Proverbs 18 and 9. The book of Proverbs, chapter 18 and verse 9. Watch this. It says, he also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. So slothfulness is wasting what? Time, wasting resources, right? Wasting money. It's a great waste. It's wasteful to be slothful, right? Mm-hmm. Watch this. Proverbs 13 and 4. Watch this. This is Proverbs 13:4. It says, the soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. What is a diligent person? A person that's on top of their game, a person that's getting up every day doing it, right? But he says the soul of the sluggard, this says the soul of the sluggard desired, meaning he's always going to do without. He's always going to want. He's always going to not come up short. He's always going to come up short and have nothing, right? And it says, verse 5, a righteous man hateth lying, but a wicked man is loathsome and cometh to shame. So he's comparing a sluggard to being what? Wicked. When you get up, I ain't did nothing. Because you know you got people like that. Get up in the morning, don't want to do nothing, play the game. I ain't did nothing. I ain't bothered nobody. You're being wicked. A lot of times it's hard to identify because he said, well, I haven't did anything. I haven't bothered nobody. I ain't hurt nobody. But by being unproductive, you're being wicked. You're practicing slothfulness. You're practicing being a sluggard. Y'all understand that? It's very important not to be a sluggard. Proverbs 12:24. Chapter 12 and verse 24. Watch this. It says, the hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Meaning you always going to owe somebody. You always going to be under tribute, being unproductive and a slothful person. Now we under tribute now, absolutely. But can things be better if we are proactive? Can things get better in your life if you're proactive? Absolutely. But if you're a sluggard, can't none of that work for you. If you're a sluggard, you ain't gonna get nowhere. You're gonna be worse off than what you started, right? And as the day go by, you just not gonna have nothing to show for it, right? We don't want to do that. Go to 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 11. 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 11. Yeah, we don't want to do, and we don't want to practice that. And then worse than that, we don't want to pass those bad attributes down to our children. We don't want to teach them how to be slothful, right? We want to teach them how to do what's righteous, man. We want to teach them how to do right, how to be right. Now watch this. This is chapter 5, verse 11 of the book of 1 Timothy. And it reads, But the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry, having damnation, because they have cast off their first faith, and withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. This is talking about a form of slothfulness. It's called idleness. Idleness, meaning unproductive, not people that are not in their word, people that are not studying. I ain't opened my Bible in a long time, right? That causes us to what? Go off into our own thoughts. Go off into our own thought patterns. Do what we want to do, right? Watch this. Verse 14. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary, to speak reproachfully, for some are already turned aside after Satan. So he's telling you that being idle, if you're not studying the word or trying to keep the word, the other side of that is being turned to Satan. Well, I mean, I ain't doing nothing wrong, but I ain't studied in a while, and I ain't open. No, you've been with Satan. You're doing that. Because there's no middle line with the Most High. Either you're doing this or you're doing that. There's no middle ground. There's no gray area. Either you're productive and getting it in, or you're idle and you're getting it in with Satan. Y'all understand that? Keep going. It says, if any man, verse 16, if any man or woman that believe have widows, let them receive them, and let not the church be charged, that it may receive them that are widows indeed. It's just talking about people that don't have, that are not, that don't have complete families. It could be a man who doesn't have a wife anymore. It could be a woman who doesn't have a husband anymore. It could be that she may need help with her kids. It could be that he needs help with whatever, right? But they urge us not to be idle in that, because it causes people to be busybodies, gossipers, to go into all types of folly. Unproductiveness or slothfulness causes us to go into things that we shouldn't do, or behaviors that we shouldn't be practicing. Do y'all understand that? And a lot of people don't associate that with that, but that's really what it is. Last one, go to Matthew 25 and 24. Matthew chapter 25, verse 24. And this is talking about the man with the talents and what to do with them. And remember, in the story of the talents, the Most High, he gave these men different amounts of talents, and they did different things with them. But we're going to read this one part, because this is the part that stuck out to me. Watch this. This is Matthew chapter 25 and verse 24. It says, "Then he which had received the one talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man." Stop right there. When he said that thou art a hard man, this shows you right here that he really didn't want to do. He looked at the situation before he even started as something that he couldn't do. Right? Because the Most High is he wants what he wants, but it ain't hard to obey him. We just make it hard because we don't want to obey him. I want y'all to see that part. I want y'all to see that. Watch this. It says, "Reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not straw. And I was afraid." Y'all know fear is a sin. We shouldn't be afraid. We should boldly keep the commandments, right? Watch this. "And went and hid thy talents in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine." So he was afraid to do what the Father commanded him to do, and he went and buried the talents in the ground. That is not what the Father said to do. He said to take this and make it more, right? Multiply it, right? Watch this, verse 26. "His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knowest that I reap where I sowed not, and gathered where I have not strawed." So he hadn't done any work. And he said, he called him a wicked and a slothful servant. Why? Because he didn't want to do no work. So that's a wicked thing. Being unproductive is wicked. That's why we have to try to be diligent, right? Because the opposite of slothfulness is what? Diligence, right? Watch this. "Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury." Meaning you should have used this and made it into something. Verse 28. "Take therefore the talents from him, and give it unto him which has 10 talents. Meaning the ones who multiplied theirs, we're going to take this from you, and we're going to give it to those who are using it. Verse 29. "For unto everyone that has shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that has not shall be taken away even that which he has." Meaning, this is saying the people that ain't doing nothing, you're going to have less, right? The ones who are doing something, trying to make a change to do better, you're going to have something. It's going to be, you're being productive, you're going to reap more. You're going to reap a benefit for that. Watch this. "And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." So an unprofitable servant, his sin was being slothful. His sin was being unproductive. His sin was not doing as he was supposed to. The Father commands us, like, for example, he says, "Go out to the highways and byways, and as many as thou shalt find, bid to the marriage." Did it say that you got to win everybody to the marriage? Or did it say bid them to the marriage? The Bible says bid them. So you go out there and you talk to them, or you making, look, you're Israelite, where we pass out flyers and talk to people. That's all we're supposed to do. If they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. But it's something that we have to do because the Father said, look, this is what I want you to do. Right? That's a profitable servant, right? But he says, unprofitable servants, he said, we're going to cast you into outer darkness so you don't get the kingdom. You're not going to get what you're supposed to get, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to be that. We want to do that. We want to make sure that we notice all of these attributes of these deadly sins. Go ahead.
Can you go to Psalm 51:13?
Absolutely, sir. Psalms 51:13. Let me get there. This is Psalms chapter 51 and verse 13. It says, then will I teach trespassers thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Ooh, I love that. I love that. 51 and 13. I got that, brother. 51 in Psalms. He said, I'm going to teach trespassers thy ways. He says, I'm going to teach them. He said, I'm going to teach trespassers thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Watch this, man. That's a great precept. That's a great precept because while we going through this world, we're supposed to be teaching them and helping people. I teach whenever I can. When I'm cutting somebody's hair, if the Spirit hits me, I'll give it. I'll give it to them, right? But that's our job, y'all. Is what? Convert the sinner, and then not only convert the sinner, walk in what we're talking. We talk the talk, right? And we're gonna have to what?
Walk the walk.
We gotta walk the walk, right? And that's what we have to do. Avoid them 7 deadly sins, avoid unproductiveness, avoid slothfulness, avoid wrath, avoid gluttony, avoid envy, avoid pride, avoid greed, avoid lust, avoid all these things, right? And with that, I say shalom.
Shalom.